You're listening to the UK Christian Hip Hop Podcast on Kingdom Culture. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the UK Christian Hip Hop Podcast, episode 32. We've made it to episode 32. We're happy to be here today. And joining us as a special guest is A-Star. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
No, it's good to have you on. It's good to have you on. How have you been coping with this whole COVID lockdown, just at home all the time? How have you been coping with that?
To be honest, it has been mentally challenging, if I'm honest with you. I'm quite a bit of a more on the extrovert side, so I like being around friends, family and stuff like that. So I just want to be outside, go to birthdays, barbecues, whatever it is. But I do understand the seriousness, the serious side of it. And, I know people that have lost close people to them, not even considering people that we see on social media. I've lost family members and stuff like that. So I understand how serious it is. So I've just been trying to I don't even know if I could say trying to stay busy. I've been working from home, playing FIFA, spending time.
How you get from working from home to playing FIFA?
Play FIFA.
No, work from home and play. But yeah, spending time with my wife and praying, speaking, catching up with speaking to and catching up with family members and things like that. Thank God for technology though, things like FaceTime, Zoom, Instagram, and things where you're able to WhatsApp and you're just able to, one phone call or one video away, how you guys doing, or you're able to see your family through camera, where maybe 20 years ago that wasn't the case. So
yeah. What have you missed the most?
I miss going to my favorite restaurants, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Just saying, getting my wife and just say, let's go and eat at this place. Just even Nando's and McDonald's, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Getting a young apple pie from or nuggets from McDonald's, stuff like that. I miss for real, bro.
It's crazy.
You got Nando's and McDonald's in the same sentence, bro.
Yeah, for real.
It's any takeaway right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I pulled up to the traffic light today.
What, McDonald's only takeaway?
No. I pulled up to the traffic lights and I saw it in Canning Town. I looked across and I saw the sign, and I just saw like a double cheeseburger with bacon, then a double cheeseburger and a hamburger, and I thought, yeah, I want one of those. Like, why is it when it's closed I want it? When it's open I ain't feeling it, but I'm like, I want a double cheeseburger, So like, it's weird, isn't it? Being like, it's like all of these the normal things that we normally get to enjoy, we can't. We just have to drive on past them. But like community and family. What about church life? How have you missed that? Have you been live streaming?
Of course, man. Yeah, I do miss going to church, and we've been able to thank God see our church on live, whether it's Zoom or YouTube live on a Sunday. But community, man. For me, I know I couldn't be one of them people who says, "Oh yeah, I watch church at home." That can't be me. Yeah. I have to see people. For me, just go church, hearing the word on YouTube is great, but at times I could fall into I'm watching the sermon, I'm on my phone because I'm on my couch. You know what I'm saying? But at church, up close and personal, catching up with people, of course you would miss that, man. You would definitely miss that. But I think this quarantine is really teaching us a lot, being grateful for what God has given us, family. Some people, not everyone has got that, opportunity to just spend time with family and things like that. So I'm very grateful, man. It's just got me in a humble kind of vibe and just being grateful for what you do have instead of looking at everything you don't. Everyone in the whole world is in the same position at the moment. So whether you're a billionaire or whatever it is, everyone's staying at home. Yeah. So you're in a position where it's like, okay, what have I got here? I've got people with me. Do you know what I'm saying? And that for me, that's the most important thing, man. So I feel like even though a lot of us could be struggling mentally with this and just really want to get out or whatever, I think a part of us will miss this time when life gets busy again and you're standing underneath someone's armpit on the central line and you'll think, fam, like 6 months ago, I was just calm at home on my water watching TV. Now someone who ain't had a shower is just standing over me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
I don't miss those. That's
Oh man.
Hey, I've been a few years removed from that, and I actually miss it in a strange way. I do, I swear, because like you don't get closeness to like you do like in the summer in London. You know what I mean? So
for real, man.
that's close.
Okay, so let's talk about Born and Raised. It's been out for some time now. I mean, it's you know an album that you've been working for some time, and it's finally out there doing its rounds, circulating, it's streaming, people have bought it, and so forth. How has the release been going for you? Like, has it been what you've anticipated?
Yeah. Before we get into that, have you all listened to the album?
100%.
I want to hear your opinion on the album as well, if that's okay.
Oh, he went straight in, bro. He went straight in.
It's
been straight in.
I'll definitely get your opinion. I know Cass has been spinning it, which I've been seeing, which is a blessing. But it dropped at a very, very interesting time, just because, right before the month of, the quarantine. Babe, stop it. My wife's trying to dance and put me off. Stop it. You're live, stop. But it dropped right before the quarantine, where it was just a weird time. Because for me, I know I want to drop the album and then start, promoting the album at shows. So I was supposed to do Big Church Day Out, a few other shows, and then all of a sudden you get the news of the virus, which at first we didn't take serious, if I'm honest. All we knew was there's no more toilet paper in the shops. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's getting toilet paper for some reason. Now it's flour.
Flour.
Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Everyone's
a baker.
Everyone's baking cakes. That's what it is. Everyone's a baker right now.
You know what I'm saying? So it dropped at an interesting time. But for me, I just know that God does everything for a reason. I know that there's people that have probably listened to it in their homes or watched the videos from the album at home, and the testimonies on it have been amazing. Anyone that's followed my musical journey from years back knows that I've been someone who's been very open in my music, very transparent, and not shying away from the realities of my struggles and what I've been through. And that's been very, very important for me to be that kind of artist, just because as a normal human being or as a Christian, when I share struggles with people of life or faith or sin, what comforts me is me hearing me too. Not to say that I rejoice in other people struggling or their downfalls, but me hearing, you know what, bruv, I understand because I've either been through it or I'm going through that as well. That brings me comfort, just to know that there's it's kind of like there's a covering and we're in this together. Do you know what I'm saying? And we're fighting sin and we're fighting our doubts and our struggles together. That gives me comfort, knowing that I have
we're encouraged to cast one's burdens.
Exactly. Do you know what I'm saying? And knowing that I have brothers and sisters that are able to walk through this with me and we're able to pray with this to get through this together, that brings me comfort. So I wanted to kind of put my arm around the shoulders of my listeners and say, listen, you're not the only one going through that, Look at my scars, and it's not like we're comparing scars, but look at my scars. Like we've got the same marks on our arms, and you know what I'm saying, but we've got the same healer who's able to heal both of these marks at the same time, and let's go through this together. So I really tried my best to just be as open as I could in my music, and people have received it well, which is a blessing, man.
Transparency is a hard thing to be, because obviously you're exposed, you're exposed to so many different opinions and so forth. But I mean, like, how long did it take you to make the album and put all the songs together and select the songs? Do you work to a certain amount of songs, or do you pick from a short list? How did it work?
So for me, I usually just write and record, and then it usually starts with songs, and eventually starts molding into okay, I see where this is heading to now, so we're going to work towards that. So when I started working on the album, I didn't know I was working on the album. I was just working on songs, and I didn't know it was going to be Born and Raised. So when I did, get to the point where I've recorded maybe a good 4 tracks, 5 tracks, I understood the direction it was going towards. And then after I think 4 to 5 tracks, I got to recording Hidden Pain. And that was a song about sickle cell that I released 2019. I said, okay, this is the direction we're going down. And then the name Born and Raised came about, so I kind of knew the kind of whole vibe of the album, how it's going to be as a whole, the storyline of the album, me speaking about where I was born, what I've seen growing up, and then getting to the middle of the album where, seeing drugs, violence, gang culture, stereotype, all of that kind of stuff, seeing that growing up, and then boom, like Jesus comes in my life from 180 and he turns my life around. And then you've got songs like Rago and same thing, that's just me on gospel. Like, I don't know if you guys remember when you first gave your life to the Lord, how just you were just prepared to just do anything for Jesus. At the time I had a girl, I broke up with my girl. I'm serving Jesus. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but then there's so in that there could be so much zeal, but very little wisdom. So you end up saying so many things, like, just that you look back at. Do you guys have memories on your Facebook and you look at some of your statuses from 10 years ago and you're like, that's a bit cringe, brother.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for me now, in my mindset as a believer, I know that you was a young Christian at the time.
I opened another Facebook account because of that.
For real, I hear that.
What did you say?
I hear that, man. But I got to the point where, it was like, okay, there's a difference between being on fire and just being ready to drop everything, then just growing in wisdom and grace, understanding other people's pain and understanding your own sin, and then realizing, whoa, okay, I'm not this perfect Christian that I thought I was, condemning everyone. And then the struggles catch up with you, if I could say that. And, you realize that, wow, actually, God is still doing a sanctifying work in me, and he will continuously do so. So I didn't just get saved and washed and by the blood of Jesus, and that's it. There's no more struggles, there's no more sin, there's no more pain or whatever. But, you do get in, challenging times where you realize that, wow, okay, God, I don't, you haven't promised me to take the pain away, but you've promised me to walk with me through this pain. Like he says to Paul, when Paul says, I pleaded 3 times, God, take this thorn away from our flesh. And he says, my grace is sufficient. He doesn't say, okay, Paul, here you go, you're pain free now, but he says, my grace is sufficient. So the album's been a walk through life with that, God's grace being sufficient. Yes, sickle cell, yes, pornography battles, yes, difficulties in marriage, etc. But God saying at the end, it is well. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's a picture of the album, man.
Well, your first line is born and raised in Leytonstone. That's how you open the album.
Yeah.
Why Leytonstone? Why, why not the borough of Waltham Forest, or why not London? Why not
Waltham Forest?
why Leytonstone?
He's got a song Waltham Forest though. That's what
he has. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But
So Leytonstone's my hometown. Anyone that knows me, my wife is sick of hearing me saying Leytonstone and all of that. She's not sick of it, but she's like, I've never met someone so passionate about where they're from. She's from South. She's like, fam, I don't even care about South like that. Do you know what I'm saying? But for me, I don't know, man. I was born in Ukchh. I've lived in Leytonstone all my life up until I got married and moved out the area. My mum still lives in Leytonstone, but it's an area that has really invested a lot in me. I would say it's contributed to the man that I am today. Just seeing what I've been through, growing up in a single parent home, going through struggles, not having everything, seeing a lot of single parent homes in my area. Most of my friends didn't live with their mum and dad. So having to see parents have to work more than one job just to provide for their family. In school, you know, peer pressure, having to, you know, either be in a gang or have this tough image and all of that. So, and all of these things going through it, seeing people die, people go to jail, people get stabbed and shot, and hearing stories and seeing all these things, getting peer pressured into gang culture, into drugs. All of these things were things that I personally experienced. And all of that, even coming out at the other side of that, is only God's grace, man. Only God's grace. But Leytonstone is something that deposited all these things in me. Just taught me to fend for myself. You know, made me streetwise, made me know this is good, this isn't. These people are good, these people are not. This is the way to follow, this is the way not to follow. There's people I went to school with now, not to say that I'm any better than them, but they're serving life, you know? So it's something it's an area that taught me a lot about myself, who I am. And I'm just grateful for that area, man. I love the area. I know a lot of people there. I still get my hair cut there. The other day, you know, we was in Leytonstone.
Dedicated to his barber.
Yeah, dedicated.
Yeah.
That's why I'm seeing guys online letting their wives cut their hair, and that I'm like, fam, that's not even my ministry.
No.
It's not my calling.
Stay away.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, the area's deposited a lot in me, and I will forever be grateful for Leytonstone, man, for real. Friends around the area, family, and yeah, man. That's why I feel like I'm passionate about where I'm from. It's a place that's not really known like that. It's known for legends like David Beckham. He was from Leytonstone. He was born in Cross. The late legend Bobby Moore, who was a captain of the England team that won the 1966 World Cup. He went to my school, Tom Hood School as well. So there's Tom Hood. That's my school I went to. So there's a few legends. There's a grime MC called Esco. He's a well-known grime MC who died years ago. He was partly from my area. So Jammer, the grime legend, he's from Leytonstone. So there's a few people, prominent people that are from there. But I feel like as a whole area, you don't hear about it as much as you hear about a Stratford or a Fulton Heath, where there's many rap legends that are from, or do you know what I'm saying? Places like that, or Brixton, that's legendary area, Lewisham. You don't really hear about Leytonstone like that. So for me, I said, you know what? Because of what it's done for me, it's only right that I put Leytonstone on the map.
I've got a question for you. Because Charles and I were just briefly talking about it, and I told him that I was going to ask you this. Now, obviously, you know, you talked about Leytonstone, you mentioned Brixton, Lewisham, you know, Fulton Heath, which is near where I'm from. And we've seen a lot of changes. Yeah. Like I remember back, let's go 20 years ago, many people wouldn't even brace where they're from. They're trying to get out from the ends. Yeah. But I've noticed in time that many people are actually putting their area on the map, as it were, as to this is where I'm from. Yeah, I embrace all the ills, but there are some good in there too. But what I also notice is, whereas the West Indian cultures have been embracing their culture a little bit more, like so up front, and they've been, I guess, it's seeped into popular culture. I've noticed now, definitely in the last 7 years, that the African culture has been embraced, and it's now becoming fashionable. How do you, I mean, was this a conscious effort to do E11 and, you know, I forgot what the second track is, where you talk about the ends, like, and Africanism. Like you mentioned that you used to walk in through the air and kind of, not, I wouldn't say shy away from the culture, but like go.
Yeah, so for real, so for me, I'm 31 years old now, so I left secondary school in 2004. So around that time, between 99 and 2004, the years I was in secondary school, it was not popular to be African. It was not a thing to shout through the roof about at that time, you know, because you'd be called African Boo by, you know, the Caribbeans. And it was popular to be Caribbean, Jamaican, or you know, anywhere from the Caribbean. It was a popular thing. So for Africans, we shied away from saying where was. I used to say I was French, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I speak French, and I'm originally from Congo, and we speak French in Congo. But I used to say I was French, and now that I think back here, I'm like, bro, you don't even know, man. Do you know what I'm saying?
French was more popular because you had Patrick Vieira, you had
so you had the
Africans that were French.
Exactly. So you had the football players to look to, and I could say, yeah, I can speak that language. That's where I'm from. I'm from France or wherever. But I wasn't. I'm from Congo, and I'm proud to say that now. But I feel
is that originally? Are you originally from Congo?
Originally from Congo. That's where my family are from. I was born here. I've actually never been. I was planning to go this year, but hopefully next year or the years to come, I'll be definitely visiting for the first time. But now we're in a place where I think it was a huge identity crisis. You know, we was closer to times where there was, you know, things like Windrush and things like that. So people were coming from being called to the country, or, you know, I'm first generation British, so my parents came from Africa to here. You know, so there was a huge identity crisis at the time. But going on in life, you know, it wasn't till I would say late teenage, early 20s that things were changing, where, you know, you'd say where you was from, or you would meet more people from where you are from and be more open and proud about it. And now Africa culture is, you know, has worked its way through the whole world now. Afrobeat music's one of the biggest genres in the world now. Everyone wants to do tunes with Africans, and seeing how especially America are embracing Africans. You know, America being a much more difficult place than here. You speak to an American, you say where they're from, they'll say Brooklyn. No, but where are you from? I'm from New York. Do you know what I'm saying?
Still, a lot of them, obviously, I live here, so it's still that way now. I get many artists asking for Afrobeat and more Africanized, but I'm like, do you know why though? Are you just jumping on the wave?
Yeah.
Like, because there's something about you that we can embrace, you know? I think they've been listening to a lot of UK stuff because UK has been embracing who they are, more so definitely in the last 5 years. Anyone that you didn't know was an African is suddenly an African. And you're like, rah, I didn't know they were an African because they were a good comedian doing great, like, Jamaican accents. You know what I mean?
Exactly, not for real. But the thing is, we are, as I said, I'm first generation British, so I have more of a understanding and embrace my culture in regards to my parents who speak Lingala, the Congolese language. So I understand it, I speak it. But where have you got someone in the States, they're like third generation, fourth generation Americans, their parents were slaves, their grandparents and stuff were slaves, and so all they know is America. They don't know, you know, that most of them come from West Africa, you know, before, you know, coming down from slaves and all of that stuff. So we are most in touch with our culture more than I would say they are in the States. But for me, I think that's a big thing. So if I'm in touch with my culture, it's going to pour out in my life. So when we have children, they're going to know about the language, about the culture. We will have to bring them back home. My wife's Nigerian, so our children have to know they have a Congolese and Nigerian side as well as being British. Do you get what I'm saying? So now I feel like whoever it is, whether you're Nigerian, Ghanaian, Congolese, Jamaican, your culture pours out into your life. It's just that we got to see the Jamaican culture before we even embraced our own, you know?
That's very true. And back to like you growing up in Leytonstone, you know, as a young boy doing his thing from secondary school and whatnot. Like you said, at 14, is it roughly around about 14 you got into music?
Yeah, around 14. Yeah.
So at 14 years old, how did you make the switch? Was it part of what your friends were doing? Was it the style of music that drew you to make music? What was the general pull to get you into music at 14?
Yeah, so I think from even younger than 14, from like 5 years old, you know, going to places like Belgium where I had a lot of family. I grew up with a lot of my older cousins listening to hip hop, R&B. They were huge on American music. They didn't know a word of English, but they could tell you a whole Tupac verse. I'm saying. They can sing a whole SWV song, but they don't know a word of English. So I grew up around that, and then, you know, on my English side, it was hip hop and and R&B until I was too young to be around the whole jungle and kind of drum and bass kind of time. But for me, it was old school garage came around, and we're like, whoa. Do you know what I'm saying? The DJ EZs, you had your all your singers, Daniel Bedingfield, your So Solid crews, Oxide Neutrinos. Yeah. They're coming through now, and So Solid is this is black people from London that are spitting, and it's garage, and you're liking it. And then all of a sudden you got Wiley and Dizzy, and you're like, oh my days. Yeah. These are guys from East London. They're wearing tracksuits with low batty like me. You're wearing your hat to the back. Do you know what I'm saying? Your new era hat, your academics tracksuit. Tinty Strider comes through, Wiley. And theyese guys, they're saying they're from East. They're from down. I can catch a bus to go to where they live. And that's you know what I'm saying? And then I'm seeing guys in my school like Fuming, who was in the Power Song. You know, he went to my school, and all these grime legends who are connected in London. London, you realize how small London is, and the grime scene culture comes around, and it's like, this is me. This represents me. I listen to the Tupacs and stuff, but I was in a complete different world to Tupac at the time. He was, you know, in his world, I was in mine. So now I'm seeing and hearing artists that are making music, and they're spitting about, I went to the shop to buy Hubba Bubba, or I went to buy Panda Pop for 25p.
Panda Pop, yeah.
And you're like, bruv, I went to the shop yesterday to buy Panda Pop.
Who knows about the chemicals that are in that Panda Pop? 25p though. Like, we didn't make that math, but boy.
Do you remember Penny Sweets? Penny Sweets, like you was going to
yeah, Penny Sweets.
What?
If you had £1 and you was buying Penny Sweets, you was rich.
Yeah, rich, like a millionaire. Like,
and your bag is full of, and your bag is buff.
The amount of the penny pops I made from just playing Conkers, man.
Oh man, Conkers, goodness me!
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, blood.
There was a secret to Conkers. You had to put it in vinegar, and then you had to put it in the fridge and let it freeze like overnight, and then that make your conker proper hard.
So that when you're doing it with people, you're
winning.
That was the cheat.
I took the West Indian route. I filled it with linseed oil. Anything with a cricket bat had linseed oil in it.
Yeah.
And I kept it natural. I was winning games.
Conkers was classic. But you see what I'm saying of just like, that's our culture. Conkers and Penny Up the Wall, Slap Ball, all that stuff. Hearing this in music now, you're like, bro, there's no way I can't relate to it. These men are talking about things I do with my friends every day. So, you know, that's when that culture came about. And then you had the Boy in the Corner 2002, 3, and then 2004 you have Pow. As I said, the guy Fuming went to my school. Me and my boys went to ends one time, and then Fuming came out and said, yo guys, video shoot, come down. And we just all went and was in the back of this is the first Pow video. It was in the back of his video, pushing each other off for the scene.
That was everyone.
Yeah.
I got to ask A-Star, and when Wiley came out with that track, What Do You Call It? Do you think that was the turning point for grime as a sound? Did it finally have like a standing of its own? Because
100%. 100%. Because you play What Do You Call It today, and people still go crazy, and we will see that as the genesis of grime. Do you know what I'm saying? And then Boy in the Corner was the whole grime Bible. So, What Do You Call It was. That's it. We've been thinking like, what is this? It's not garage. It's not. It don't sound like garage. And that's what he says. Listen to this. It don't sound like. It doesn't sound like garage, and it's not. It's not two-step. It's not jungle. What is it? And even at the time, people were playing with the word grime. It wasn't official yet. It was still under the whole garage umbrella. But we was like, we know garage, and this is not garage. Do you know what I'm saying? So that was the stamp on. This is what it is, and then after that, everyone just went with the word grime. You know, that was the word, and we just said, "This is grime. This is us," and it's not gonna move, man. Yeah, till today, you've had years where people have been back and forth. Grime is dead. Grime is dead. Grime is dead, and then someone comes out with a song. Stormzy comes out with a song or album, or Chip comes out with a disc for some, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, grime's alive. That annoys me if I'm honest. Yeah.
So on that statement there, who do you feel like won that battle between Wiley and Stormzy?
I think Stormzy had that. I feel like Wiley weren't doing it for serious clashing reasons. He knew that he had projects coming out, so it was for promotional sake. But Wiley, as the Godfather, I think we have to give him his dues and respect. I would say he's a gatekeeper of grime. He holds the keys very tightly, and he's like, I'm not saying he says you come in, you go out, but everyone comes in, you're sick, come in. But when you want to start acting up and then become a pop star, he's like, because for me, I don't have an issue. I feel like people make grime, and Stormzy, as big as he is, we can't not call him a pop star now, but he will still make a grime tune. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wiley's like, yo, don't forget where you come from, brother. Do you know what I'm saying? He's the parent saying, yo, don't lose yourself. Come back, don't lose yourself. And obviously he's over passionate about that, and that's why the clashes are always starting. He's always getting at someone. But I feel like Wiley's just a passionate old man who's been there from the beginning. He's gonna have so much stories as a granddad, bro. He's gonna be in a rocking chair telling you when grime started and about Dizzy Rascal and all of that stuff, where people probably won't even know who a Dizzy Rascal is in 20 years, 30 years back. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So true, because my children don't know. They don't know. They more than likely would know Wiley because he's more making himself, notice. But my children don't know.
I hear that, man.
And that's the reality of it. Like, it's crazy like that. Calvin, you said you
Yeah, actually, good question though. I like that. And thanks for sharing the insight there, A-Star. Wolf and Forest, man. I love. So this is really the first testimony track per se, where you have a start, middle, and end, where you were, where Christ came in, and where you are now. Story aside, I love what you did in the first verse. I think you did like 6 flows. Yeah. And you were just, would you say you're at your best right now? Like lyrically, like your wordplay, I don't know how long it took you to get to that part. What came first, the beat or the rhyme? Take it away.
My wife said this, which means yes. But for me, I feel like as an MC, you're never 110% happy with yourself in regards to your art form. Yeah. You always know that there's better to do. There's better. There's just, yes, I've done that and I like that, but there's always better. You're always trying to find out a new flow or, how can I word this better? And one thing I'm a big fan of is multi-syllable rhyming. So you've got a line and then you're able to rhyme a whole new line with that and the same actual words. Yeah. All the words are rhyming at once. So for me, I've just grown to study the game of grime, study MCs, study rhyme patterns and things like that. I'm just a student of the game. So for me, I would say with Born and Raised, that's some of my best work, if not my best work. But I know there will be a time where I can take it to the next level. Do you know what I'm saying? But for now, I'd say that's my best work, definitely.
So what comes first for you? The beat? Like inspiration from the beat or inspiration from, I've got to put this on a wax?
Yeah, so for me, good question. So I would say I have folders of ideas about songs. When I do, I also have folders with lyrics about, for example, if I want to talk about, I wanted to do a track called Wolf and Forest, just to say where I'm from, what I've seen and things like that. So it does start with the beat, but I do have little ideas sometimes in my folders where I'm like, yeah, I want to dig more deep into this. Like Hidden Pain, before I did Hidden Pain, I knew I was going to do Hidden Pain. I just didn't know how the beat was going to sound, how I was going to deliver my lyrics. I just knew I was going to do a whole track dedicated to me having sickle cell. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And so, and sorry to hijack the questions here, boy, Cass and Charles. I almost forgot what I was going to say. So, because of that, like there are times I feel like you're talking to people from your ends or people that relate to you, And then there's times where it's completely introspective, and you almost, irregardless of what anyone else thinks, you're thinking about yourself, and this is what I'm going through. But ultimately, do you have a person in mind when you think about this whole album? Because it has a story flow.
Yeah. Great question, man. Because Wolf and Forest, the first verse was about myself. So speaking about, Leighton Stowe to Leighton, Walthamstow to Chingford, pavements over Leighton. I've seen I've seen what I've seen around the area. But the second verse in Wolf and Forest is mostly a collective of stories of what I've seen. So I talk about someone growing up in the ends, holes in their crepes, not getting, people taking the mick out of them, and then all of a sudden, I'm going to school, I'm meeting friends, and then the elders are kind of taking me under their wing, and it starts with a, go shop for me, here's £1. Then it starts with a, do you want lunch? Here's £10, here's £20. Do you want to know where you can get more of this? Come with me. So now you're in a place where, as a young person, and I'm seeing this happen today, as a young person, you're under someone's wing now, and it's, hold this for me. You want to go and give this to someone for me. So by the end of the week, you've got £100. Have you ever had £100 from your mum before? No? Okay, well, I can show you more. And then it continues to grow and grow. All of a sudden, you've got status now. You're top boy on the end. You've got little youngers running around for you and stuff like that. But there's always a turnaround to stories like that. It's either you're ending up dead or in jail. So that's the kind of picture I wanted to show. But also there was a lot of truth in the story where I have a friend who's a pastor now who was caught with, who was in this lifestyle, and he was caught with a firearm on him, and they didn't find the prints. And, in jail, he was on his knees and he prayed, God, get me out of this, and I will drop you this and I will serve you. And they didn't find prints on the gun or anything like that. And he's now serving the Lord, and he's a pastor. So that story, because I was very close to him at the time, it was an inspiring story. So I thought, let me get a collective of stories and create one big story that I know a lot of guys, as you said, it's like I'm talking to guys in my ends, and we all know this is what's happening. We know this is what's going on, but the ending is not always pretty. But the ending in Wolf and Forest is the guy ends up in the prison cell on his knees, and he's saying that there's no other peace like this peace. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
which is kind of like a reflection of Paul. Like, he talks about peace when he's in jail.
Exactly.
So that peace, because anyone else will hear it and be like, that's contrary to what I know. You're in jail, that's it. You know what I mean? And so to hear, I do like the way that you leave Christ on stage, as it were, on that, because you use that kind of postcode war, inner street language, and they're unwritten rules. And like, when you hear it, you'll be like, they're the rules. That's how it goes. That is how life is. And so it's very, very clever how you switch that, and then kind of at the end you talk about peace when you're in jail.
Good. Even on that peace talk, E11 Kid really stood out for me, because you said a certain line in there which really made me really think about the music industry, an artist mentally, what they go through, and you said something. You said you're not a fan of award shows. So in the space of numbers, followers, likes, streams, and all of that comes with being a music artist in this present day, how do you keep up a constant fight yourself as a Christian against that, against pride, against comparison? Because you did highlight it throughout the album every now and again about comparison and comparing yourselves to other people and other artists. How do you fight that?
It's a constant battle that doesn't go away, if I would say that. It's just something, it's like dying to your flesh, you have to constantly remind yourself of God's goodness. And I always think, like, what has God given me? What do I have compared to what do I not have? So especially when it comes to music, and you're in this social media era where someone could bring out one song, and then there's a dance or a challenge that comes out, and then all of a sudden the song's blown. And that I've been putting in 10, 20 years of work when it's come to my music, and I'm just about being heard now, and this person's been out for 6 months to a year, and they've got 1 million followers and all of that kind of stuff. It's especially in the social media era where it's right in your face. You can't avoid it. You know, your guys are charting, all of that kind of stuff, and you're seeing it like, man, I know. Not even sometimes just for myself, you know. I'm like, brother, I've got guys that are sick, and I know that they're better than that person in regards to their rapping ability and stuff like that. And on top of that, us man are bringing a solution, bruv. We're bringing, you know, we've got peace. We've got we're rapping about positive things, bruv. You know what I'm saying? But not even just with that, but with my fellow brothers in Christ, whether it's across the board in the States to here as well. You always get that competitiveness in your heart or all that comparison where it's like, man, I wish I kind of had that. But if you don't check yourself quickly and just turn around and say, well, what do you have? And what do people appreciate you for? What do they appreciate your music and your gift for, that you know that's what they appreciate you for? That's why they will come out to your concert or buy your specific CD or send you a message to say, this song encouraged me in this way. And that is the beauty of the body when it comes to the body of Christ. For me, A-Star can't do something that Pressure J or Governor B has done. But at the same time, Governor B and Pressure J can't do something that Faith Child has done. But when we can do that and we come together, that's the beauty of the body. Governor B's the arm, Faith Child's the leg, A-Star could be the other leg. You know what I'm saying? Mark Jones is the other arm, Still Shady is the chest. Everyone is here as a body, and we're just pushing together as one. The issue is when the arm wants to do what the leg's doing, and the arm's like, why are you doing that? I need to be doing that. And then it becomes a big issue. So when the whole comment on award shows as well was mostly for stuff like that as well. Like 2015, I did a freestyle called 96 Bars of Revenge. And I was talking about just how I was just not a fan of, you know, this whole awards thing and things like that. And, you know, I figured out things like the Mobile Awards, and they had people on the panel that didn't really know about our scene like that. But then it's just like, oh, you sing in a church, you're a choir, you're a rapper that we've heard about. Cool, let's nominate them. But when you do a true nomination, like if you look at the Grammys won't nominate someone who's come like yesterday and has done a tune that 3 people have heard or whatever it is. It's never about the numbers, but the Grammys will go like, who's put out an album this year that's been incredible, great work, you know, people have been getting onto it, and we know that this is credible for a Grammy nomination. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like when it comes to us, we kind of downplay it, you know, and we just kind of, oh yeah, that's a nice choir, that's a nice singer, they sing in their local church, let's do that. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope you guys are trying to hear me out what in regards to what I'm saying. Like, yeah, for me, award shows have always been a weird one, and even just comparison and stuff, it's just like, who's the best out of the bunch? And it's like, oh, me, pick me kind of thing. And it's like, nah, man, I want to be recognized for what I do. And for me, how has my music impacted someone? How has it made them think about not taking their own life? How has it made them think about, you know, trying to overcome an addiction, or, you know, trusting in God with something that they know it's been difficult to trust Him with? So I'm really trying to focus on that more.
So that goes into, can we go to that off my chest? Because where you spoke a lot about your personal life in that one. So as a female, I just want to know, how did you tell your wife about did your wife know about the lyrics before you done it, or did you?
100%. I would have never, out of respect for my wife, and if there's anyone that I speak about or mention or whatever, out of respect, but it's mostly my wife. Off my chest was a lot about me now as a married man, having challenges before marriage, not knowing that, wow, these are the challenges I was going to have, understanding that weddings are not Instagram pictures and stuff, it's more than that, which my wife constantly reminds me of. But knowing that this is real life, do you know what I'm saying? We're having real life challenges, real life is happening. Obviously, I can't disclose everything at the moment, but real life has been going on, and there's a few things I've said in the song that I played the whole song to my wife, and it was challenging for her. And she said to me, "You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. Before the album's come out, I've just felt anxious about things that you've said on it. But we both know this is for a reason. This is for God to bring clarity and hope to a lot of people. Because for me, we always say as a couple, like we were given a lot of false information or hope when it's come to marriage. I wouldn't say false information, but not everyone was real like that.
Being honest,
To say, bruv, do you know what like married people go through? Do you know the challenges of marriage? Like, you know, when you come out from your honeymoon, that's where real life starts, you know, that's where no one's focusing on your wedding pictures online and giving you likes anymore. It's on to the next couple. It's real life. You're at home now. Do you know what I'm saying? People don't really tell you about things like that, or, you know, difficulties in a lot of things in marriage. So we want to be a couple that shares that with our single friends or our friends in relationships or people that are looking to get in a relationship or looking to get married. We want to let them know marriage is a beautiful thing. God orchestrated it and he's down for it, but it does have its difficult times. So if you're in a place where you're like, I want to get married because I want to have legal sex, fam, there's more to life than that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, because that song really, that was probably the second song I listened to when I first started listening to your album, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried. It touched me. It touched me a lot, and I was like, "Hold on, what's going on here?" Like, you know, listening to it, I suppose it's just things that I identified with. Just hearing that, I could feel that you were, you know, I could feel your honesty in there and your openness. You know, when you hear songs, but then when a song touches you like that, it's almost as if you connected. You definitely connected with your audience, whoever, you know, and that really, like, that had me. Even today again, I listened to it again, and I'm just like, man, this.
I got to give props to your wife too, man, because like Esso, I known Esso before he got married.
Right.
And so I understand, obviously Esso had a name before he got married. And so you had a name too before you got married. And so I got to give props to the wives there, because that's something that they have to consciously feel that, okay, I'm going to be also involved in the ministry as much as they can in their level, understanding that, you know, the wife is the neck that turns the head, right? So, you know, how much is she involved in your music, top to bottom? Is she like scrutinizing every lyric, which I'm sure she isn't? But is she more like, and I'm pretty sure she's right next to you or something, right?
Yeah, she's here. She's laughing.
Is she giving you cues? I want you to answer like, is she like the boss? No, I mean it in a nice possible way, of course, because like for me, my wife handles all the finances. I bring the money in, but she handles everything. She runs my home, and so she tells me what color the walls are, you know. And I'm very content with the boundaries that we create for ourselves. How much is she involved in your music?
Great question. So for me, I know that my wife wasn't a grime fan or really a rap fan like that before I met her. Now, like, I'm her favorite MC, which is sick. But also 99% of the music she hears from rappers, she thinks is abysmal. And I'm like, oh, babe, you can't say that, man. But she's like, listen, she understands lyrics. She understands lyrical content. She understands bars and rhyme flow and all of that stuff. And she's always, in regards to bigging me up about how good she thinks I am. So she's definitely invested in when it comes to advice. Also just encouragement. You know, a lot of times a creative will tell you they've just had low times where it's like, is this even worth it anymore? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, it's always good to have someone there to say, like, babe, come on, I know you can do this, or, you know what I'm saying, I know how good you are. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the creative that's actually creating the music that doubts themselves more than other people doubt them. More time it's people that believe in them, but, you know, more than they believe in themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'll definitely say she's invested in that, which is grateful. And obviously, going to studio or staying out late nights, going to shows, or, you know, going to music conferences or sessions where, you know, last year I went to a studio session, which was a whole week in another country. You know what I'm saying? And being able to, you know, for your wife to allow you to do that, not to say she has a leash on my neck. Do you have a leash on my neck?
I'm joking.
She says sometimes. But just allowing, you know what I'm saying, to be able to do that. And it's difficult for her. She don't want to be away from her husband. But I feel like this is part of the ministry. It's part of our ministry. She has her own ministry. She does YouTube, Soul Beauty, and she has over 10K subscribers. She's killing it. Like, you know, she encourages young women to how to live for God, and she has a solid following of people who listen to what she's got to say. Do you know what I'm saying? And you know, we try our best to try and help her in any way possible with that as well. So she has a ministry, so she understands sacrifice it has to take. You know, her spending hours on her laptop editing videos and getting it right. You know, if the lighting's not good in the video, having to re-record it. So, you know, this is our ministry together. As a married couple, we feel like God's called us to a ministry, but also we have our separate ministries where we both had to embrace each other's ministry. So her coming out shows with me, every time we do Big Church Day out, she comes out for the weekend, and we get friends, hire a house and just stay there. So she understands the sacrifice, and, you know, I couldn't marry someone who wouldn't understand that, if I'm honest, because it's important. It's what God's called you to do. And if you've got someone constantly dragging you down, saying, no, don't do that, only do what I do or what I say, it's not a blessing at all, man. So
So you've seen a parallel between, you know, the EP Revolutionary and obviously Born and Raised. You weren't married and you are married. And a side note, in the middle, okay, I love it whenever you do 2016 with Governor. There's a certain line you get to, and you just like, I'm not gonna say that. You know probably say, something about
ladies calling my phone sometimes. I don't want to go about
well, I go sometimes.
Yeah.
And
so I switched it to ladies calling my phone sometimes, and I don't go sometimes. That's why I say that when I do it live.
Yeah.
Because if I say I don't want to go a road sometimes, my wife stay in the crowd like.
I like those little side looks that you make there.
Yeah.
We know exactly where she is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You check it like, is it okay? I say that.
Honestly, I've got to put the spotlight on her again, because it is very, very difficult. I mean, I'm working a lot of artists, and some are married, some are not married. I see the difference in their work when someone's even in a relationship, and then when they're not in a relationship, it comes out in the lyrics, it comes out in their demeanor. They come here and they're stressed, and I do more time consoling. And so, you know, Charles said from the outset, you put a lot of transparency into this, a lot. And there's different degrees of transparency, because you can't put pearls amongst swine. Like, you have to kind of coax people into things. And obviously you wrote this like an album. So, you know, there's not many people writing albums. There's a skill, there's a knack to it. And you definitely didn't waste any bars in this album. But I definitely understand. I relate to what you said in, hang on, let me check my notes here, Rago. Because you were just talking about a second ago about like people having the skill, but they're not really, you know, they're rhyming for the sake of riddling. I'm a Black Thought fan, but they're rhyming for the sake of riddling. And they, you know, it's like, I understand the term doing it for the culture. And I definitely understand your wife saying, yeah, but this isn't, you know, like we can make excuses for the culture, like especially Black males, because we understand the journey and where it comes from, and it could just be about the bass culture, because there's a lot of bass culture in your music. But how much quality control do you put? Because I could see in Rago, like you really had a statement to say. Right. You clearly had someone in mind what you were talking about. It's not like you're battling, but you're not battling, but you definitely have people in mind. You definitely have, I wouldn't say an agenda in a negative term. But you definitely have, this one stood out uniquely, like you were talking about somebody else, something else, the responsibility of being an MC. And you're definitely talking about Christian MCs as well. So do you want to kind of like elaborate as to the frustration, or was it, or because it wasn't beef, like you didn't mention anyone's name. But
so you're speaking about with Rago. on the second verse, I say,
Second verse. Yeah,
gun bar lyrics, I can't stand these gun bar lyrics. I bet most MCs in the scene can't spit 16. You know what? I didn't actually think about that, but it's only now that I thought about that, and that wasn't the case. So I had, when it comes to Rago, I had 3 verses on the song, and I wanted to take it to that because I feel like old school grime songs, for people that know, you always have verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. So 3 verses and then choruses. But now obviously they've changed the vibe. So I wanted to go back to that. And I just felt like Rago is, you guys know the term of Rago is you're all Caribbean.
Yeah.
But it's, you know what I'm saying, is let me say what I want to say on this track. Let me say without
I'm gonna be Rago.
caring about without caring about anyone's coming back. I'm gonna lick people's head off with this track. Yeah.
yeah.
So the first one is calm, just going in calm, you know, don't need no naked chicks in the vid, you know, stuff like that. But the second one is pointing at mostly grime and drill scene.
Okay.
So I understand why you're saying about Christian MCs, and I understand what you're saying about that.
I was going to mention that during the Mobo part, because I was like, wait a second, maybe he's thinking about that in Rago, but okay.
Right, yeah, no. So mostly it was pointed at the grime scene, where it's constantly, okay, all right, cool, yes, you're a cold MC, but do you have a 16 bar where you're not talking about guns or shanking someone? Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I want to talk about. Do you have a 16 or a song that we can hear where you're talking about something else rather than who you're going to kill or who you stabbed or chefed up, or especially in these whole new drill, the whole drill vibe that's coming out. Do you have a track that you can say, this is a track that we can play on radio and has no killing? And the funny thing is, radio's playing all these killing drill tracks now. That's what's playing on national radio now.
So there's a theory going out, and maybe we'll share this offline. And it's for anyone that's listening. You go investigate. It's called Out of the Shadows. There is an agenda in music, especially in Hollywood, and a lot of the big major Hollywood companies are associated with big record companies and other, you know, big communication companies. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, when you follow the money and follow what they do and the product they put out, it doesn't surprise me that it's mirroring in the UK. And so if there's a lot of gun violence and in the lyricism in the United States, it's very likely that you hear it in the UK, even though it's different genres. It's the same people that are involving and money changing. I do wonder though, seeing that your wife obviously keeps you grounded, and she definitely is like neighborhood watch when it comes to kind of the scene, and so she sort of says, hey, look, this ain't good, this is good, this ain't good. You know what I mean? It really helps having someone at quality control. Seeing where you are and said what you said in this project, have you started casting vision into the future project, and what is A-Star going to represent for the scene at large?
To be honest, during the quarantine, if there has been something I've been thinking about, it is if or when I'm to do a next project, what would it sound like? At the moment, I feel like I'm going to old man phase. Like, I'm saying.
What you miss, innit?
Yeah, so you know, when we was listening to grime back in the day, and our parents would hear it, or our uncles and even older cousins, what's this noise, bruv? Like, what's this? You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm slightly getting into that with drill, fam. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And drill's younger than grime, a lot younger than grime.
It's so I'm in a position where I'm like, is this a phase? Like Funky House was a phase. Remember, everyone had a skank. So, is this a phase like Funky House, or is it something that's here to stay? If it is something that's here to stay, we have to invest in young people who are coming up, and that's their sound. But we have to get into a place where we're cleaning that up.
What do you think about gospel drill?
I don't have.
Would you ever do a track, gospel drill track?
I probably would. I'm not sure. At the moment, I'm like, drill, get it away from me. But I have to come out of that old man mindset and think, hey, there was a time where hip hop was big and no one was really checking for grime like that. And I was a young 19-year-old coming up, or 18-year-old coming up, and where I was so down for grime, no one could tell me nothing about grime because it was all about hip hop. But now we're in a situation where grime is, You know, you've got grime stars that have become millionaires, and grime is at a place where it can make you a millionaire. And you've got the drill thing coming up now. We got to look at kind of embrace that in the same way. For me, I understand all I'm seeing is chefing and all that stuff, but someone could possibly come out with, you know, gospel drill or whatever and make it and do well with it. Do you know what I'm saying? So I need to come out of the phase where I'm just continuously shunning it, because that's why I'm saying like, I've gone into the old man phase where I'm like, no grind. But I have to understand there's youngers that are coming up on it, Christian youngers that are coming up on it and that are using drill. I don't have an issue with gospel drill. I have an issue with us, you know, I understand because in grime we kind of had that thing as well, but I feel like, you know, we all know what chefing means. We all know what, you know, drilling means and all that stuff, but, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure where I stand when it comes to, you know, I'll chef man with my Bible or I understand. Trust me, I understand. And I feel like we maybe said stab man with my biblical sword back in the day. Maybe we said that, but I don't know. I don't know what. I'm not sure where I stand.
You don't feel comfortable with it.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I
you
wonder
know what?
if you relate to this.
That's only because I've heard the drill man and how they've come out with it. I'm like, okay, but on the other hand, I understand because I can't completely shun it because we was doing that in our grime days, in the old school grime days. Now I've grown up more, and you won't hear me say I will spiritually shank the devil in his chest. I won't say that. Personally, I think that's quite cheesy. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let's chop up that one click away, because for me, that one definitely hit me the hardest, because it's definitely something that's personal to me. And my own personal struggles, and like I've had challenges with that from I'd say age about 10. So not to go too deep into it, but at age 10 is when I was introduced to pornography by my dad. So he showed me like a pornography magazine and said, okay, son, this is what, went through the whole thing with me. And I remember weeks before that, I was innocent, running around, having fun, living life. And after that, every girl I saw, every woman I saw, I couldn't see them the same anymore.
Right.
And it's something that I struggled with for about 15 years after that. Again, Luke, the minute you're talking about getting home and locking your door, turning the lights off, and you know, all of that is just like, wow, connecting to the Wi-Fi. Back then I was dial-up, you know, and they had 2 MB, like it's like, you know.
Then ones where someone's on the phone and you can't use the internet.
Oh yeah, of course you can't use the internet.
I'm off the phone. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's definitely I resonated with that one click away. I think I've even resonated more with how honest you are, because it's something that the church has shied away from, like profusely over the past 20, 30 years. It's almost like as if it doesn't happen. But yet we know that pastors struggle with it, members of the church struggle with it, married men and women now struggle with that. Kids as young as 9 are being sucked into this world. The best way I can ask is like, why was you so honest with it? You know, you knew what was attached to that. You knew the shame or the name calling or the pointing the finger or the show you might not be booked for. Why did you decide to do that? That risk, if you know what I mean.
I think one of the biggest ways to show the devil he has no power is to show him that you have no power. And the power belongs to Jesus. So if I strip myself away from every sin or whatever, and I show this is my weakness, I strip myself, away from every strength or whatever that people see, and I show this is my weakness, this is my weak point. Not just with that, but with hidden pain. This is my weakness where I say, man sees this as a shameful thing, What power do you have over me now because I've showed you my weakness? That power automatically goes straight to God, because God says, in your weakness, my strength is made perfect. And Paul says, I will boast in my, that's exactly what I'm boasting in my weakness. I'm boasting and saying, guys, I am weak, but God is strong. I want my daily life to be an example of I am weak. I struggle in my prayer life. I struggle in reading my Bible. I struggle to be the best husband that God wants me to be. One day I will probably struggle to be the best father that God wants me to be. I struggle to be the best son, brother, older brother, cousin, whatever it is. I struggle to do that. But God is faithful and powerful, and he's able to sustain and hold me through this. So for me, it's just stripping away anything that... So now if someone wants to tell you, you free, if someone wants to phone you personally, say, bruv, you know, I just heard A-Star has been battling with pornography, but what would you say to them after hearing my album?
That's old news.
Yeah, he'll say, I know, because he's been open about it. So for me, no one can shame your scars if you've already backed off your top, bruv. I'm not telling you guys to do that, but if you've already showed everyone your scars, what else is there for them to say, look at what he's done? Do you know what I'm saying? Unless another story comes out, whatever. But for me, I want to be transparent, man. Like, as believers, guys, man, let's stop putting on facades, bruv. That's where you get the world saying that's why Christians are hypocrites. How many times have you heard that from people outside the church? I want to say, yes, I am, bruv. Yes, I am. Do you know what I've been struggling with? I'm a hypocrite because I'm not doing what the scriptures are telling me to do. I've disobeyed God's word every day, but there's grace for that. There's grace for that. And Jesus gives us that grace. And if you become a Christian, guess what? You're going to be a hypocrite as well, because you're not going to become a Christian and do everything. Everything's going to be rosy and dandy. No, you're going to fail and continuously fall, but God's going to pick you back up, bruv. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's just about stripping myself from any perfection that church culture is trying to put on me, or people listening to my music putting me on a pedestal or trying to put me. And I'm like, take this off me, bruv. See the real me. I'm a sinful man that is in need of God's grace, and so all of us are. Yeah. It's like people trying to stone the prostitute, bruv, and bringing her to Jesus. Look, we're gonna stone her. She's just being found. And Jesus said, okay, well, is anyone here without sin? If you are, dash the stones now. Let's see. Do you know what I'm saying? So that I feel like that's the mindset I want the church to have. He who is without sin, cast the first stone. Okay, no one's throwing stones. Let's have a real conversation now. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Is that why doubts is after all of that?
Yeah, that's why doubts, things like that, because doubts is something I personally have never heard on a Christian album or anything like that. I've heard obviously some people having conversations with themselves or conversations with the enemy or whatever, but doubts was a next thing for me, man. Like forever.
Yeah, that was really creative. That one, back and forth. That one really.
Yeah. So for me, like Favor is one of my favorite MCs to ever touch mic. That guy is just talented, and he's a great guy behind music as well. So we went to Dubai for our honeymoon, and he was out there with some friends and family out there, and we just spent some time together. I was sick, man, because me and Favor were real close at the time, and obviously him like not considering himself being a believer anymore. You know, your paths kind of go down different ways, but we always stayed in touch. He came to my wedding, all of that stuff. So when we just spent some time with each other in Dubai, we said, cool, when we get back, we'll talk. And then I'm not sure if it was before or after our wedding that we sat down in a Nando's and we just spoke for time. And I said to him, bro, so what is it like? Where are you at in regards to your faith or journey? And we spoke, man, and he was just telling me struggles that he was having with the church, just with, the gospel and how God sees people in regards to heaven and hell, things like that, the reality of heaven and hell, who goes to heaven, who doesn't, and he was struggling with that. And a lot of these things he was saying is that he couldn't have these conversations in church, which is the thing that broke me the most, because it's like, these are the places where we need to have these conversations. We have to have these conversations within the church. Otherwise, man are going to go outside and look for answers, and that's what's happening. So we just had our talks, and I told him my talks, my struggles, and agreeing with a lot of you know, frustrations that he had. But with having all these doubts and struggles, it can't stray me from knowing that there is an answer from God for all this. There is, you know, God's grace is actually sufficient in all this, and he is able to walk with us through our doubts and through our struggles and through our pains. And after that, I was like, brother, we can't drop that convo just there, man. Like, let's put this on a song. The exact things we were saying, let's put it on a song and let's talk about it. So
was he reluctant? Was he for it straight away?
No, he wasn't reluctant at all. And I feel like if it was a thing of me saying, I'm going to make a song just glorifying Jesus, and then you're going to come and talk your bars, he would have said, nah.
It was definitely a conversation. That was unexpected. I didn't expect that.
I mean, the thing with Sickle was unexpected. So I think what I really enjoy, Charles, what I really appreciated is that you went the direction that I think we want to hear from Christians, just in general, like some realism. Right. All right, so you're flawed, you know, because by you talking about your flaws, you expose everybody else's flaws, and then you're in a situation where you can have a level conversation.
Right.
Is that only from there where you really say, look, remember at the start of the song, at the start of the album, I'm from end. Look where the Lord has me now. You can now see the testimony of Christ. You don't just see how great I am, you see how great he is. Sorry, Charles. You know
what I really liked about the track, that it didn't have a conclusion. You left
it kind of just left it like there.
Yeah.
Like,
so you almost kind of like evoke in the listener to like go and be like that. I have those kind of conversations because I'm sure we all have people within our lives, family or friends who have been with us from young, we've come to the Lord, and you've seen that separation. Could actually be that candid and actually have those genuine conversations with them about faith, life, walk, is God real? All of those kind of questions that actually people are having in their minds right now. I think that, you know, it really does evoke you to kind of like act and be like, actually, no, I can go and have a conversation like that with somebody. Because sometimes, I don't know, like I come from a Pentecostal background, which again infuses a lot of, they tag evangelism to a certain look or a certain mannerism. Stand in the middle of Stratford and hand out flyers and megaphones and things. So it's always been an off-putting thing for me because I'm like, again, I'm like yourself, and from the ends, I'm like, we don't do that, man. I don't pester man for flyer. Leave me alone. But coming to see how you done it there, it's like, that's a very relatable way as a Christian to go, I could just have a conversation with someone. It doesn't have to be an argument. You don't have to be shouting. It's just like, let's talk. You know, let's break bread.
And I think one thing as well that I wanted to point out is he done the most talking on the track. Which is sometimes something that we have to take on board. And I did that purposefully, ended the track like that purposefully, saying let's continue the conversation, but also let him have more say than I do. Because I feel like Christians, a lot of times when we want to preach the gospel or speak about faith, a lot of times we argue to win the conversation. We don't argue to win someone over. We argue to win the argument, but not to win someone over.
I mean, so basically, we're right, regardless what you say. You know,
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me,
go on. Go on.
I think it's important for us to listen. Okay, so I said, so what made you stop living up to what you was preaching? And then the conversation comes from there, like, okay, and he says, and there's times where he said, bruv, you know what? I don't even know what I'm saying. Why do you believe what you believe? And then I said what I believe. And then it gave an open door for him to say, don't know about the heaven and hell. If a 6-year-old Muslim boy got killed by a Christian's bomb, would he go to heaven? Things like that. Like it made him feel, okay, cool. You've come out with what you believe in, but this is what I truly believe in from the back of what you're saying. And I'm like, okay, that gives me time to listen now. There's a time to talk and a time to listen. And a lot of times when it comes to evangelism or even speaking to someone about faith, we don't listen. We want to talk. In life in general, we're having conversations with people. Most times we want to be heard when we're passionate about it. We want to be heard, but we don't listen. So for me, I like, especially with tracks like Doubts, I wanted to listen to understand. Because when you're listening, you're able to think, right, okay, that's where you're coming from. And, oh, fam, I actually agree with that. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't agree with that, but I understand now because how you're telling me about it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wanted to leave room about. I played it to both my pastors before it came out. They really enjoyed it. So it's one of my favorite tracks, and I'm very happy that I did it. Like there's one of my boys who's an MC. He's not Christian. He heard the album straight away. He said Doubts is my favorite track.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I understand.
Let's surmise on 2 tracks that really centered on like a personal challenge of yours. You went on Chucky Online to speak about, you know, the struggles and the reality of sickle cell. You know, same thing touches on it, but like, you know, hidden pain, you know, it really like enwraps the listener in your world, especially the video. I mean, you can't watch that video without an absolute silence of just like, whoa, you know. I've heard like murmurings every now and again of like people in my family, myself, carriers and so forth, but to actually see what it's like to be somebody who actually has the full brunt of sickle cell is striking. And like let me quote 2 lines for you, just see where your mind will go from it, because these are the 2 lines that really stood out for me. He said, "Day to day it's all aches and pains. I want to fade away and be see-through." And that's on Same Thing with Esso. And then on Hidden Pain, you said, "Breathing levels decreasing, feeling like my path's at an end." I mean, that's heavy.
Yeah, I even held my breath when I heard it. Like,
Take us through your mind when you're writing that, and how that mirrors your reality.
Yeah, so you know, for people who know about the severity of sickle cell and having a crisis, and what it does to your body, you have excruciating pains, which leads to parts of your body failing. You know, I had a lack of blood flow into my left hip at the age of 23. And which caused my hip to stiffen. And, you know, at the age of 24, I got told that 23, 24, I got told I had to have a hip replacement, which is something I felt like at the time, that's for 8-year-olds, bro. Like, why are you telling me, a 23-year-old, that I've got to get a hip replacement? And then I finally got it a few days after my 25th birthday. But things like that, and going through that, and going through every time going through a crisis, feeling like this pain is too unbearable to the point where I just want to die. And you've got people that have sickle cell that can tell you that it's gotten to a place where they're like, it's better for me to die than to continuously feel this pain. And I couldn't tell you, bro. I could tell you from my experience, but I could also speak on behalf of many, where I could say that there's a lot of people with sickle cell that have had thoughts about death, 100%. So when I say things like feeling like my path's at an end, I've had times where I've been in hospital. One time I went to Big Church Day Out. This was 2 years ago, where I had a serious crisis. 2 years ago. I come off stage, I can't breathe. I'm taking pictures with people, signing CDs. I just cannot breathe. I can't get my breath out properly. My wife clocking straight away there's an issue. So they got me out there, sat me down, and I'm just, boom, have a sickle cell crisis. Got to a point where I had a chest crisis, which is called acute chest crisis, and go to hospital, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. So you've got a lot of nurses that don't even, ambulances that don't even understand what sickle cell is. They don't want to give me they don't want to give you the morphine or whatever it is, because they're thinking, why are we giving you morphine? We don't even know what's happening. So I end up in ICU, where I feel like after a very long time, I feel like this is it. I feel like this is the end of the path for me. I'm actually about to die. But I you know, miraculously I didn't. But it was a serious time. And I've had plenty of times like that in my life. But that was the first time in a very long time where I thought, whoa, like, this might just be it for me. And you can imagine what that does to someone mentally as well as physically, when they obviously get past all that. But yeah, I have had thoughts about death, especially when it's come to my faith, specifically when it's come to that. And yeah, for me, it's definitely something that I thought I have to write in my lyrics. With Hidden Pain, I wanted to do a song that speaks for all of us, for everyone who has sickle cell, not just myself.
Yes.
There's not one person that has sickle cell that hasn't listened to that track, and hasn't said, man, I relate to it. You know, the testimonies that came from when the song came out, you know, when, you know, NHS put it on their YouTube channel and we got Channel 5 coverage, Metro, just constant, even up until the Chucky interview that we did a few months ago. Constant testimonies with people that are just like, thank you, man. Like, you spoke for us.
Yeah.
That's what sticks out to me the most. Just people saying you spoke for us, not you spoke for yourself, or you told us how you feel. You told people how we feel. You know, yeah. So I'll never say Hidden Pain is my track. It's our track. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And how important is it? How important is it for to give blood? Like, really, like, you know, you see it in the comments under the video, you see it from a person, you like how important? What's the severity of that?
Yeah. So for someone like myself, I get exchange transfusion every 6 weeks, which is where they used to put, you know, a needle in a line in one arm, a line in the other, and they're taking blood from me in one line and they're giving me blood in the other. My veins are very weak, so now I get what you call a femoral line, which is I get surgically put in my groin. There's a main vein, a big vein next to the artery in your groin that they got to surgically do it, you know, numb the area. So every 6 weeks I go into the surgery room to get this done. And they put the tube through a needle in my groin that goes into the main vein, and they're able to do the transfusion through that, which is a quicker process than in my arms. So the blood that I get, that they give to me in this exchange after whilst they take out the blood, that comes from donors. And because I'm someone with sickle cell affects mostly Black people, it's very important that our blood comes from our own people. There's a statistic that I always share with people because I feel like we need to know, only 1% of Black people in the UK give blood. 1%. So for me, it's a thing where we have to encourage our own people to give blood. Black blood is good for Black people. Do you know what I'm saying? That's nothing new to any of us. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why I encourage people, like, you know, white people are a lot of them are down with going and giving blood. When I put out Hidden Pain, a lot of people are tweeting me, yeah, you know, it's my 27th time, you know, it's my 30th time, and they get badges, certificates, thank you, and all of that stuff. But I'm like, where's my Black people that are tweeting me? It's my 30th time, it's my 25th time, and all of that. You know, with our own people, I always say there's 3 excuses. One of them is the needle phobia, where Black people are like, I'm not going near no needle, bro. I don't want to see blood or faint. You know what I'm saying? Secondly is the conspiracy theory behind what are they going to do with my blood. I've heard stories and man, I don't know what they're going to do with my blood. Is it a ritual thing or whatever? And thirdly is people that actually go through with it, sign up on blood.co.uk, they've got their appointment, but they don't turn up. Do you know what I'm saying? That someone actually told me a statistic, more people sign up and don't come and give blood more than people that actually sign up and come and give blood.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Gosh, I remember one time with my late sister, she was in hospital, and the person next to her was having a crisis. And when I would listen to your song, what came back to me was her screams, pain. It's never left me. And this is probably like over 10 years ago. It's never, ever left me. The screams of pain I heard her going through. And her mother was with her trying to console her, and there's nothing her mother could do. And she was like, Mum, help me, you know, and nothing. And honestly, I just, you know, I'm just thinking, imagine the mother, you know, what can you do? That's never left me. And listening to that song, it just brought it all back to me. I was like, my gosh, that girl, what she was going through. I mean, I saw her at the other end because my sister was still in hospital afterwards when, you know, she had gone through it. and I was kind of trying to ask her, you know, what is it? And she was just saying, it's just I don't know. She said like, you know, she was trying to describe at the time, tell me about the shapes of your blood or whether it changes. And she said that it just feels like something just sharp going through her body. I could just see it, the pain.
Yeah, it's so bad that someone with sickle cell can't describe to you what a crisis feels like. It's indescribable, that the kind of pain, like, you know, statistics say it's worse than birth pains. Do you know what I'm saying? Wow. It's just excruciating pain that you will never ever feel in your life. It's awful. Yeah. But you know, my approach with hidden pain as a Christian was very important as well, because I come from a background where, you know, like you, Charles, very Pentecostal, and I really struggled when it came to my health and the Pentecostal church that I was in, and just the movement in the, not movement I would say, but just the belief system in general, because they were very, you know, have faith and you will be healed. And, you know, especially the church I was at, it was like, you know, it's because we sin that, you know, because you sin that you're having a crisis. What have you done? What did you do last night or whatever? That's why it's like, no, are you understanding the genetics and, you know, this hereditary disease and the things going on in my body is yes, in general, the fall of man, you know, allowed these things to happen. But for me, myself, you know, I felt like it wasn't embraced well. So it wasn't, what can we do to help? Yes, we can pray for you, but what can we do physically? If you're having a crisis, what can we do? Who can we call? Or can I come and give blood? Can I, you know, come and just stay with you in hospital or whatever? And I did have visitors, but it was mostly just pray the pain away. You know what I'm saying? Which is a very unhealthy concept to have in a church setting, pray the pain away. Because it doesn't help with someone like myself who's constantly having a crisis and started to doubt my own faith. Like, God, am I even believing you? If people saying that I'm constantly healed and I'm not, who does that make me? Or either I'm just too small or don't have faith in you at all, or you're not real. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like, okay, you're telling me have faith. I don't have enough faith because I'm healed. How much faith does God want me to have? He wants us to have faith in him, which is the most important thing. Do you know what I'm saying? And in that, I truly believe till today, God is able to heal. But if he doesn't heal me in this lifetime, there will come a time. There comes a time where we pass on to the next life. And in that life, there's no pain, there's no suffering, there's no sickle cell, there's no cancer, there's no leukemia or anything that brings any sort of pain to us. It will be eternally perfect in Christ Jesus and whole in the Lord. So I felt like I didn't want hidden pain to be a thing of, yeah, I'm going through this pain, but I'm healed. No, this is the pain that I'm going through, and it's rubbish. It sucks. Yeah. And I wanted the video to be uncomfortable, for people to see me in the bed and feel like, people are telling me, I've had a few DMs, I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched your video yet because I don't want to watch it because I just feel uncomfortable. I wanted to bring out that emotion in people. I wanted to. When you feel uncomfortable, cool, what are you going to do about it now? Yeah. Because I know you got a cousin or a friend somewhere that you know has battled with sickle cell, is battling with it. Are you doing anything to help? The smallest thing, like signing on blood.co.uk and signing up to go and give blood, it can be the hugest help to someone like myself who gets 11 units of blood every 6 weeks. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
And how important was it getting married? It was a conversation my mother had with me. And when I was going to get married, going to get married to my wife, my mum sat me down. She's like, Charles, and I've got to tell you the honest truth that, you know, you are a carrier. But so you need to find out if like Khadijah, my wife, is a carrier too, because then that could be quite serious for your child. And I had to go and sit down and actually have that conversation with Khadijah. How did you find that? Did you have to have that conversation with your wife, or
100%? Yeah, I've always made sure that in previous dating relationships, it was something I spoke about. So with my wife, it was no different. When we met, I spoke to her about sickle cell. She has sickle cell in her family, so she understood the severity of it. And if I found out that my wife was a carrier in regards to she has the trait, whether I loved her so much already or not, it would have been a peace out thing for me, because I feel like health comes before love, especially when it comes to things that can affect the next generation. And seeing how much it's affected me, my mum's got it as well. So as I said in the Chucky interview, I've had times where me and my mum have been in hospital because of it. Seeing that and then imagining her having sickle cell, having to constantly not think about herself and think about me all the time and look after me, where who's looking after her, because she's struggling with it as well. Seeing that made me think, I can't now be so stupid to get with someone and not even ask for their genotype, and if they have got it, then we have a child and it will affect them even more. That's selfish, man. It's very, very selfish, and I discourage that I discourage anyone to do that. Find out your genotype, find out your partner's genotype, make sure it doesn't match in a certain way where you've both got it and it could severely affect your child. So my wife, she's AA, she's clear. I'm SS, which is full blown, and then you have AS, which is the trait. I made sure that she didn't have SS or AS, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. And she understands that, and she definitely understands it. Yeah.
Wow. That's, again, the fact that you speak about such, heavy hitting subjects, and they're not just subjects like abstract, these are like personal experiences that you're going through, and you share that on Born and Raised. I mean, that's why for me personally, it's like it's slotted in there straight as one of the best albums that I've enjoyed from an artist for a long time. It's opened up my mind. It's actually expanded my understanding. There's a lot of things that you speak about on there that I had no idea, and I think that's needed, not just in music, but in life, how we speak to each other, how we have relationships and so forth, being honest and open and transparent. Obviously not, be careful who you share, don't cast your pearl before swine, be careful who you share with in those environments. But I think you show a boldness and a confidence, not just in yourself, but in God, knowing that he's going to keep you in that transparency. He's going to keep you from the shame that can potentially flank you, or can keep you from the wagging tongues, and really encourage people and transform people's lives, through the testimony of what you speak. And it's amazing because even in the album, it's not concluded. It's not like an album of like, yo, victory on top of the mountain. It's like, nah, there's still some stuff I'm still going through. So it's an album you walk with, and it really has that real appeal. So, man, hats off to that, man.
Thank you, guys. Honestly, man, that means a lot to me. And this interview, one of the best interviews I've done overall. But just to know you guys have studied the album, man, and that means a lot to me. Honestly, it really means a lot, because I know that I'm not doing it and it's not falling on deaf ears. Do you know what I'm saying? It's falling on people's ears that are actually looking to take it in, study it, and discuss it. With that means the world to me, guys. So thank you, man. Honestly,
no problem. It was great to have you on A-Star. I know it's been a good, lengthy, long, and enjoyable interview.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great, and hopefully we can do it sometime
again. Thank you to your wife as well for allowing us to have this time as well. Thank you. Go back the wife.
Cool, definitely. Okay, so you can get A-Star's new album, Born and Raised, on all major e-stores. You go and get that, listen to it, buy it. Don't stream it, buy it, own it for yourself, because it's something you need to marinate over and go over again. There's going to be bars you haven't heard, you're going to hear it again. There's things you don't understand, you can help understand it over time. Go grab it. Born and Raised by A-Star. Brother, thank you very much for coming on. God bless.
Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you, man.
Take
care. Bye.
Take care. So Calvin dropped out, so we're going to end the podcast there. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a long one. I'm not sure if I'm going to split this into two or whatever, but thank you for joining us for this episode of the UK Christian Hip Hop Podcast with an exclusive with A-Star. Again, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, kcmix.com/podcast, UK Christian Hip Hop, the home of it. Yeah, I'm done. What an interview. That was brilliant. God bless. Peace out.
Peace.
You're listening to the UK Christian Hip Hop Podcast on Kingdom Culture.